KNUS Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why
agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, he's kicked off all the text messages. Phone lines are hot. You have tuned into the Jeff and Ted Trimpa Show on Monday, October 13th, 2025, 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Bill Thorpe's out, and I said, hey, this is a debate show. That's why it's Denver's top talk radio show. It's because we debate things. It's not a monologue. You're not going to hear. You get to hear debate, and more importantly, you get to participate in it. So the hottest issues affecting our lives are debated right here on the Jeff and Ted Trimpa Show. Glad to have you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Text message coming in. So you were asked a question from an earlier caller on a scale of 1 to 100. Where would you find yourself? 1 being progressive, 100 being conservative. You said 35. You're not totally in the socialist camp, which, believe me, we're going to hear later from co-hosts this week that think that Ted Trimpa is far too conservative. But they said, well, 100 would be total self-reliance, no government. I don't know if that's the case. And this comes from a text message 6728, because I'm a social conservative. I don't mind using the state to stop stupid activities happening, like sports gambling, for instance. I think it's wildly stupid. It's going to put a whole bunch of people in debt. That should be banned. Abortion should be banned. I don't mind using the state to do that. So I'm not sure you can say 100 is just total self-reliance. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. I just the question that we have to try to find an answer with the 0 to 100 is, where do you put libertarianism?
Right.
You know, is libertarianism to the right of using the power of the state in order to do it, or is libertarianism to the left? And I do think on the one is, state ownership of everything. Yeah. Which would be, communism. I think it's that 1 to 5 is kind of the range of where some of that would fall. And then I think, what you would think of as, democratic socialists would be in the, 5 to 20, 25. And then you get into what I consider to be liberalism. I don't know, 35 may be too low of a number. But there's, a classic liberal, and not classic liberal in the old classical sense, which was conservative, but in the political liberal sense. And then you would have kind of the independent, unaffiliated voter truly in the middle. And then you can do to the right of that, do you call those rhinos? I don't know. Is that moderate Republicans before you get to rhinos in the 70s? I leave that to...
There's 98s that are rhinos, according to some definitions. But I would say, here's how I would catalog you. I would say that you are a classical liberal in that classical liberal sense who is supportive of Democrat policies. So what I mean by that is, think Berkeley free speech protester. That's a classical liberal. Like, I believe in the freedom of speech, and I will defend to the death your right to say what you want, even if I disagree with it, right? Like, you believe in those fundamental principles. There's a lot of Democrats today who are like, no, we're going to shut down your speech entirely. You engage in hate speech, and we need to shut it down. So that's where I would put you. A classical liberal believes in those classic rights, but you support Democrat policies.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I wish I could have explained it better earlier, because that is where I am.
Yeah. Ted Trimpa of the Trimpa Group, you can blame him for the direction of the entire state. He will take it because he thinks it's in a good direction. I'm sitting here going,
welcome. You're welcome.
What are you?
You're welcome.
That's where a lot of the debate is happening. 0261 saying, I appreciate Ted's quiet, reasoned arguments. We need more discussions like this. Thank you, Jeff, for inviting him on. Thanks, Carla. Appreciate that. There are lots of text messages saying that they will never listen to my show.
Sorry, I'm running away. Sorry, I'm running people away.
Oh, they'll be back. It's because we're a rodeo here, and they can't get enough. All right, let's go to Let's do a quick phone call, and then I'm going to get to Blake here. Michael, Denver, I think you've been on the longest. Michael, good morning. You're on with Jeff and Ted Trimpa.
Well, good morning. Thanks for taking my call, and I really appreciate Ted showing up to your show. I ran for House District 2 this last election and actually had a debate against the Democrat there who beat me by a significant margin because of the number of Democrats in this district. But he didn't have to do it, and he did, and I appreciate it. Two things real quickly. Tabor. I was down for the debate on Tabor when we were going to file a lawsuit against its constitutionality. And all I heard from the Democratic side of the issue was it's too difficult to operate under. So we have to figure out some other ways to get around it. Fees being one of those ways. Special tax districts being the second way. My question was, why don't you just comply with it? And then it won't be a problem. There's a mechanism. If you don't think you have enough money and $44 billion is not enough to run this state, bring a tax proposal to the people that pay the tax and see what they have to say. I was born at St. Joseph's Hospital here in Denver. I'm a native Denverite. I'm 78 years old. We have never had to increase taxes to support Denver General Hospital until this illegal alien problem became an issue. Never in the whole history of this state. So don't say it's always been Denver General's always been underfunded. That's just not correct. And finally, with regard to who makes the decision about what children learn in school, respectfully, Ted, that's not a school board. That's a parent. Those children do not belong to the state. They belong to me as their parent. I raise them. I support them. I educate them. I pay for all of that. So, school boards are not going to be making these decisions. We need to find a better way.
Michael, great call. I appreciate it. Ted, your response, sir.
So I think let's talk the Tabor issue, because I think that's the most compelling one, and we could have a little bit of a debate about that if you want. If only Tabor could be complied with in that simple of a way. I mean, given the needs that have been coming up, they have to find ways in order to get there, because there are lots of times in places that they're are going to need some funding. They've got to figure it out that a tax increase would never pass. So you end up having things not happen that really need to happen. And so it is true that a lot of what the legislation is to do workarounds on Tabor, and I think we have to be honest with ourselves about that. And the use of special districts and the whole use of fees rather than taxes, it's gotten extraordinarily creative. And from my perspective, that is a good thing. Now, on the lawsuit, I was in a minority at the Capitol, and I have a difficult time seeing how you can really construct something on a lawsuit to say that it's unconstitutional. And I have a tough time seeing how something is unconstitutional because it's difficult to implement. If it's difficult to implement, the Constitution doesn't guarantee that if it's difficult, then it can be unconstitutional. I just don't. And plus, the other reason that I didn't want to do it is I didn't want to spend the money. We have a lot of things that need money within the state budget, and to all of a sudden say we're going to take money to go on what I consider to be a fool's errand is just something that we shouldn't do. I just respectively disagree on the kids, and we can have an additional conversation about it. I have to admit I don't have kids, so I'm sure that many people would say, well, then we shouldn't even be listening to you. But my opinion about it still stands in terms of the school board. I want to say thank you for running for office, even in a district that had a lot of Democrats. I wish more people would run for office, and I think there needs to be more debate. And the fact that whoever ran against you, I should know who's in House District 2, but I don't.
I think that might be Woodrow. Maybe. No?
The fact that they wanted to debate you is terrific. I am always up for debate, because debate means you get better solutions. And you also educate each other. And also for me, it's just fun. I mean, when Jeff called and said, you want to come on the show, I'm like, well, Jeff, the only thing we agree on is Israel. We disagree on everything else. So this will be a lot of fun. So
it is Woodrow. Woody showed up.
Yeah,
Way to
and,
go.
And Woodrow he's in a single digit number on that scale. So
It seems like when I listen to you and respond on either of these cases, you seem to carve out a space and a role for the state that I think most conservatives would disagree with. So, for instance, when we look at tax dollars, we go, that's money that belongs with the person. When the government comes in and takes it, it's taking it by force. You really don't have a choice. I mean, you can try to deny paying the IRS for a bit, but they're going to get it. With regards to kids, for instance, those that primary responsibility set up by God is for parents to guide and shepherd their kids. But you seem to want to create role for the state in it. It seems to be, and I'm not denying that there's no role for the state, but it seems to me that you're more comfortable with the state stepping in, and I see a lot of problems, and I have deep concerns when the state steps in. What's your response?
My response would be what we're talking about when we say state.
Yeah.
Because in the school context, I go back to school boards. School board's not the state. I mean, it's parents, members of the community that run, and that's what oversees a school. So I don't think that the state argument applies there. I get what you're saying, and what Michael is saying, I totally understand. It's just we just have a difference of opinion. In terms of me being comfortable for the state stepping in certain situations, the state steps in to make sure that we have highways. The state steps in to make sure that airplanes don't crash. The state steps in to make sure that there is a safety net for the society and what we're doing today. The state steps in and sets standards, for licensing. If you're going to be a therapist, there should be a license. You shouldn't just be able to run out and throw up a shingle and say, I'm going to be a therapist. I mean, there has to be some type of consumer protection, and that consumer protection comes from, in some way, the state. And then many times that is enforced by the Attorney General. I think all of that makes sense to me.
Do you think that law that was before the U.S. Supreme Court should be overturned, or should be one regarding conversion therapy bans?
No, and I don't think it should be overturned, and it's looking like it's going to. For those that may not know what we're talking about, the Colorado passed a few years ago,
19.
A ban on conversion therapy. This is, if you have a person who's gay, that you can take it to, some type of therapist, and they can convert you. And there has been a history of some of that being really rough, not treating somebody well. It's been debunked as something that actually works. And so what Colorado decided to do was to ban it, but the only way you could ban it is you make it as a condition of the license. If you're going to have a license as a therapist, you have to agree that you won't use conversion therapy. Well, and I can't remember who it is here in Colorado, took that, and it's in front of the Supreme Court today. Yeah. And the way the argument is going with the Supreme Court today isn't that infringing on free speech? Because you're telling a therapist they can't say something. And I think that it's then a question of, isn't it okay and right to condition a license so they don't do something that we know is harmful to somebody? And isn't that different than what their free speech would be? Because they could still talk about conversion therapy. They just can't make it part of their therapist practice. The court is looking like it's going to go the free speech route.
Yeah.
Which
at
means,
least 6-3.
I think there are 20 states that have these conversion bans that will be overturned.
So I actually don't think a lot of it's going to get overturned. And we talked to ADF about this, and I'm going to get it to you in a second, Blake. Believe me, but this is such an important conversation. There's a lot of conflation that takes place, because I sat in these rooms and negotiated this bill with the Democrats, and they didn't take any of my ideas. And I said, guys, this is going to fall on free speech violations. So lo and behold, 6 years later, it will. But what was positioned as conversion therapy, especially when it gets into physical aversion, I have to pull it up, the actual language, but they would use examples like, I was put into an ice bath and forced to watch gay porn to try to make me straight. Or I was electroshocked, or I was hit with the Bible or something. And I'm sitting there going, you guys want to ban that? All right, Colorado Christian University will join you in banning that. That's terrible. That's abusive stuff. But the way you guys have written this is that a therapist can only counsel a child to embrace transgenderism. Like it was state compelled speech. So what ADF used in the oral arguments was that if a kid comes in and says, I'm 17 years old, because this all portrays to minors. No one cares what you do if you're 25. You can sign up for whatever therapy you want if you're 25. But if you're 17 years old and you come in and you go, I'm biologically a boy, I identify as a boy, I'm confused a little bit about it, but but I'm a evangelical Christian. Let's talk this through, because it's all talk therapy. Let's talk this through and figure out a way for me to identify as my own biological sex. The way that was written wouldn't allow that to happen. You couldn't even fulfill the needs and wishes of your own client who wanted to abide by their own biological sex. You had to counsel to embrace transgenderism only. That seems like compelled speech.
So are you saying then that you think the Supreme Court's going to have a narrow decision?
Yes, and ADF thinks it's going to be very narrow.
And it'll be on the compelled speech piece?
It'll be on compelled speech only with clients who want to be counseled in that particular direction. So they even admitted, ADF on our show said, that the idea that a parent could bring in their kids unwillingly and that the counselor would take an unwilling client and counsel them in a direction that the client is not willing to be counseled in would not fall under what they think will be overturned here.
Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, if it's the compelled speech and it's what the client is asking for, it's really hard to argue against that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to argue against
that's
that.
what ADF submits. So they actually think it's going to be very narrow.
Oh, wow. So
which
you
was
you obviously are paying a lot more attention to this than
But
I
I mean,
am.
and to that point, though, like the abusive stuff, that's where I think
everybody would agree.
yeah, that's where I think, and I think Colorado just went too far. All right, Ted Trimpos live in studio. We're having a great discussion. Join the conversation. Gene, we'll get to you next. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Hey, good Monday morning, 46 and sunny, expecting a high of 62 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
And let me also convey my tremendous appreciation for all of the nations of the Arab and Muslim world that came together to press Hamas to set the hostages free and to send them home. We had a lot of help. We had a lot of help from a lot of people that you wouldn't suspect. And I want to thank them very much for that.
DJT in Israel this morning and is in Egypt right now for a Mideast peace summit on what's being described as a pivotal day for the region. Hamas released all 20 remaining Israeli hostages held since October 7th of 2023. Arrangements are being made to return the remains of 28 deceased hostages and free roughly 2,000 Palestinian detainees. More on DJT in the Middle East. Here's NBC's Alice Barr.
Some 200 heads of state joining today's peace summit in Egypt, including Arab leaders critical to the negotiations and to helping rebuild. President Trump again promoting his proposal for an international board of peace that would oversee reconstruction in Gaza.
And stocks are surging on Wall Street after the news this morning. The Dow Jones has been up close to 500 points at times today. Governor Polis has activated a disaster emergency declaration for La Plata and Archuleta counties caused by Tropical Storm Priscilla. Mike LaRoe with Archuleta County Sheriff's Office.
We've had 2.5 days of rain. Everything is saturated. The water levels are high, and we are concerned about what is still to come.
People in nearly 400 homes were evacuated Saturday in Bayfield after 4 inches of rain fell in about 48 hours, causing a nearby levee to breach and the creeks to overflow. There are still dozens of people missing in southwest Alaska after widespread flooding there after former Typhoon Halong hammered the area with heavy rain on Sunday. The federal government shutdown drags on. The Democrats could end the shutdown right now if they wanted to. The administration has started to lay off thousands of federal workers of course, we can point to the left for that. And speaking of the left, what used to be the Great Northwest, we have ICE protesters parading around naked in the city. It's gross. It's everything you need to know about these people. Trashing the city of Portland and Seattle. And then you have the Seattle police chief telling the administration that they will support ICE protesters in the great city of Seattle, what used to be great. What a shocker there. All right, let's go to the happy stuff here.
Fields' first pass. All kinds of time. Moving to his right. Running out of time for 1 yard for Justin Fields. Let's see if he can get more. Runs out of time, and he can't run out of the pocket.
Yeah, he runs out of time. Justin Fields running out of time.
Runs out of time.
And sacked again. 9 sacks by the Broncos in London Sunday against the Jets. 7:30 kickoff. If you woke up for that, you saw this.
For the end of the first quarter. Next wide open touchdown. Nate Atkins. And the Broncos have the lead.
And that's all the Broncos needed. 13-11, the final Sean Payton in London.
I would consider myself as someone that's always positive. I mean, to have the opportunity to be here still and coaching a team, we got great makeup and grit, the things that you look for as a coach. And, it's like a teacher. You want to see all your students do well and get an A, and that doesn't always happen. But that being said, I'm proud of the way these guys fought here, in the last really 2.5, 3 weeks. And I think our experience coming over here was fabulous. So,
all right, good for them. Victory on the road in London. They come back. They're back now, I'm sure. CU with an upset over the weekend, 24-17 over 22nd ranked Iowa State. CSU over Fresno State. Wyoming wins. Air Force, once again, they score 48 points. And typically when you score 48 points, you usually win. Air Force loses to UNLV in a high-scoring affair. And UNC, Northern Colorado Bears, they go to Idaho. That place was packed. I was there for that game. And it was loud, and they were ready to hang 50 on UNC. But the Bears of Northern Colorado, these aren't your daddy's Bears from the past 10 or 15 years. UNC is now 1-1 in the Big Sky Conference, 3-3 overall, played great, and they win it 49-33. If you're a baseball fan, NLCS starts today. The Brewers and the Dodgers in Game 1. 43 in Castle Pines, 44 in Arvada, 46 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue with Ted in for Billy, and I know he'd rather hang around us than those.
There's still a bit of a trickle of subtropical moisture. There's still a bit of a trickle of subtropical moisture around.
Call me Chief Golden Eagle, and I wanted to wish you a very happy Columbus Day.
Yeah, it's Columbus Day. News Talk 710 KNUS.
There's still a bit of a trickle of subtropical moisture around, so Colorado will see a mix of cloud, sun, and a few widely scattered showers still as a possibility. Temperatures will be in the low to mid-60s today. Overnight, low temperatures will be down into the 40s with a few evening showers. Warmer Tuesday and Wednesday, back to the 70s, partly cloudy and fair, then cooling down. Maybe some showers again as we work our way into Thursday and Friday as the next front will move in mid to late in the week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, live in studio is Ted Trimpa. He's the CEO of the Trimpa Group. He is the progressive mind behind the blue wave takeover of Colorado. He joins us live in studio, which I appreciate. Now, Ted, I've said this, and let's debate it. Let's have fun with it. Colorado under LGBTQ leadership or dominance as far as a worldview has been more oppressive than it was under evangelical leadership in the 90s. And here's my argument. I think we had one U.S. Supreme Court case that came from Colorado. It was Romer. I could be wrong. Maybe there's more. But Romer case. We've had 3 on the same issue in Colorado, which is, can you be a Christian and practice your faith in public when it comes to LGBTQ issues, whether it's the baker, the website designer, now the counselor. It's all the same. In my mind, it's the same issue, and we have to keep relitigating this. It seems I can make an argument that to evangelicals, Colorado's become wildly oppressive. Your response, sir?
To compare it to the 90s, I mean, I mean this with all due respect.
Okay.
That's laughable. Okay. You go back to what we didn't have hate crime statutes back then. We didn't have employment non-discrimination statutes. We had a 1992 ballot issue that prospectively banned any type of civil union type relationship. You had leadership that would say things that were overtly anti-gay. I know because I went after some of them in elections. And the overall general environment was not favorable to us. So I would say it was much more oppressive to us back then. To the question of being oppressive to Christians today, there's a difference between you putting yourself out as a business person and laws around what applies regarding discrimination. That doesn't, you're not prevented from being a Christian. There are all kinds of other things you can do to exercise your Christianity. And the only one that, and I don't call it oppressive, only one where talking with you today, I see that there is a narrow path is the conversion therapy one. Mm-hmm. The compelled speech. If they wanted this kind of therapy, could they get it? I get that argument, and I could see that's where the Supreme Court would land. But I find it hard to accept that it is oppressive to Christians when we have a lot of churches, mm-hmm. And that's not a bad thing. I'm a Christian. Mm-hmm. I read the Bible every day. And so if we have that many churches, how are we being oppressive to them? I mean, there's free exercise of religion. There's nothing out there that's saying that you can't exercise your religion.
You sure? I mean, I would that was the take that Hillary Clinton had, which was you have the free exercise of worship. You can go into your churches and worship whoever you want, but if you're going to run a business in Colorado, for instance, you're going to bake the cake, Jack. I've watched the state time and time again seem to be willing to use the power of the state to come after evangelicals in ways they're not willing to do other people.
So what would be examples of that outside of
those 3 Supreme Court cases? Yeah.
Which you're winning, by the way.
Right. It takes a long time. It's like 5 years with this. And by the way, I find it hilarious, too, that we win and the electorate is just like, yeah. All right. We'll just keep putting Democrats back into office.
Violate free speech. And I go back to my argument is that it is not preventing you from exercising your religion. If you put yourself out for a business, you have to follow what the law is. It's that simple. And guess what? You're beating it. You're winning.
Right. Because what was passed originally with those non-discrimination laws was the intent that it would be a shield to protect people from discrimination. And then what it became was a sword. We're going to go find a Christian baker in a strip mall. It's not like there's not other bakeries out there, but we're going to drag him before government tribunals for 6 years.
I understand and get the argument. Why would you go to a Christian baker if that's going to be an issue for you and it looks like you're out looking for a fight. But
Yeah,
you know,
Autumn
the law is,
Scardina was.
Yeah, but I still come back to the law is the law, and it's not. I have a difficult time seeing it that it's oppressive to Christians.
Okay, let me put it this way then. I think the one thing you can do to not get elected in the state of Colorado is be an evangelical Christian. I think you could pretty much be anything else. You could be Brianna Tatone, for instance. You could be anything else out there and get elected in the state of Colorado. That's why I go, it is very embracive of the LGBTQ worldview and very hostile to the evangelical Christian worldview.
It's not oppressive to evangelicals if you can't win an election. I mean, you go out and you convince an electorate to vote for you. The fact that you can't win doesn't make it oppressive.
But it's hostile.
Well, find a different electorate. I mean, that's just.
But that kind of proves my point, right? Aren't they hostile to evangelical Christians at this point? It's like you could be anything. You could be anything else but that right now in Colorado.
Run a campaign, and I particularly in strong Republican districts, I have a difficult time believing that an evangelical Christian couldn't win. Because they're going to be a Republican most likely, I would think.
Right.
I'm sure there are probably some Democratic evangelicals, but I think all in all they would be Republicans. And you find a district that is overwhelmingly Republican, I would think that the evangelical Christian issue wouldn't be something that would prevent them from winning.
Ted Trimpa live in studio. You want to take a few more phone calls?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Let's go do Brian in Arvada. Brian, good morning. You're on with Jeff and Ted Trimpa.
Hey, Ted. I was wondering how you feel about the sanctuary status, and especially during Biden when we shipped in thousands of illegals, what your stance is on that one.
So my stance was actually supportive. I think we're a country of immigrants, and I think that we need to try to get them into society. Now, I do agree with the stronger border policies, because when you let people know it's a porous border, then all kinds of people are going to come pouring through, and that was a mistake. I mean, you have Democrats on record talking about really strict immigration laws, going back 30, 40 years. I mean, I remember Clinton giving a speech about it. But I think once they're here, we got to figure out how we get them mixed in with society, get them on the right path to citizenship. I don't believe in taking all the if they're criminals, obviously they need to be shipped out. But that's not what we're doing.
Yeah, but Ted, so you say at the same time you want affordable housing. You guys have been running on affordable housing forever, and it's gone nothing but up. So what happens when you ship more people in here and you have more of a demand for the housing? What's it going to do? It's basic economics. It's going to raise the price. And who does it affect? It affects the poorest people, right? You remember when they were putting them all in those hotels and the government was paying $200 a night while this poor guy used to pay $60 that was probably trying to get on his feet? They kicked him out and they replaced it with the illegals. So the problem is with the Democrats, it's all feel good. It's, everybody feels good. But at the end of the day, everything you guys run on, homelessness, okay, it's gotten worse. Price affordability, I think we're like second or third in the nation now as far as you can't even get an apartment for under, around $2,000 a month. It's gone up in the last 4 years ridiculously. So when you have less supply and you have more demand, it's basic economics.
Ted, your response?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. What you come back to is you have to incentivize building more housing. I mean, it is supply and demand. I completely agree.
You have that. You're putting the cart ahead of the horse. Shouldn't you have that before you welcome all these illegals? Because what you're doing is you're affecting the national born citizens, especially the poorest among us. I mean, the people in, Cherry Hills and all these, elite areas, they're not affected, because where you guys do is you slam them all, in the poorest communities. So those are the people that are affected. That's why I cannot believe that anybody who is, little economically challenged, we'll say, would vote Democrat because they're the ones most affected by your guys' policies.
All right, Brian,
I mean,
appreciate the
basic.
call. Thank you. Ted, response.
So I get what you're saying. But I still think that, Democrats are saying that we need more affordable housing and doing whatever we can in order to incentivize that. And it's, a difficult thing to do because you have, and you had some other callers on earlier, it's like, well, you just want to put high rises up everywhere. Well, we're going to have to put up high rises, figure out how to do more affordable housing, because the situation we're in is the situation we're in. And I can understand your point. Why would Democrats be voting this way? I totally get it, but they are. And I just want to say, I'm married to right-wing MAGA. He calls himself Ultra MAGA. He's a producer at Fox. And I have to tell you, talking to you right now, I felt like I was talking to my husband because he makes the exact same argument.
But isn't part of the problem, like as Brian pointed out, we just have people here. Like if we just had fewer people here, you wouldn't need so many high rises. So if you're here illegally, go home.
Yeah, but the number of people we're talking about, I mean, the number of units that we need, it isn't just because of them. I mean,
right, it's not, but they're
the
part
numbers
of
aren't high
the
enough.
conversation.
So, but I get the conversation. I can totally get it. Totally get it.
Arash serves as a producer for Gutfeld, right?
Correct.
So people, if you want to see your husband's work, you see it watching Gutfeld.
Oh,
right?
yeah. If there's
Which is one of the most popular shows out there.
Yeah, it's second highest rated cable show. They get 5 million viewers a night.
What's number one? I can't even think of.
Jesse.
Oh, Waters? Yeah. So it's the Fox crew, huh?
The five, Jesse and Gutfeld, they kind of rotate.
Wow.
But, it's really conservative stuff. So I hear these arguments, everything we've heard today. I hear them literally every day.
And it's not working?
No, he gets so upset. He's like, when am I finally going to break through with you? And
I think it's going to happen.
If you want an epiphany, though, go to church. Epiphany is not going to happen.
Ted Trimpa's live in studio. Let's go to Frank Evergreen. Good morning, Frank. You're on with Jeff and Ted Trimpa.
Hey, good morning, guys. Listening to Ted makes me think of a quote from Marie Antoinette: "Let them eat cake." While these people are starving in the streets, basically, I realize that's a little bit more than what's really happening. Ted's saying, well, this is the way it is. I think I encourage people to go read what Ted and his billionaire California friends did to steal the state of Colorado. And as far as Christians go, we don't want to have gay marriages in our churches. And if Ted had his way, you would have to have that. And we don't want to have doctors forced to perform an abortion. And if Ted had his way, that would be the law. And, we have all these people like Billy, for instance, who now says, well, I'm against killing babies personally, but it's okay if somebody else kills them. This is the absurdity of listening to people like Ted. He has all these grandiose ideas about the way we should all live, and it's a miserable failure.
Frank Evergreen, all right, your response, Mr. Trimpa.
So, as I've said earlier, that's the great thing about this country is we can have this kind of debate, and you get to say what your opinion is. I do want to respond a little bit, and I never have, and the movement has not wanted to say churches have to perform marriages. It's always been churches can do what they want. It's never been the intention, and it's never been my intention at all. I mean, I'm a freedom of religion person and have been adamant about that. And part of this is because I read the Bible every day, so I get that part. In terms of the group of billionaires and how we've taken this, the state in what you would consider to be the proverbial toilet. I just disagree. I think that we've done some great things for the state. I listed off some of those earlier, and we just, agree to disagree. So,
Go. Ted Trimpa live in studio. Rich, we'll get to you next. You're listening to Jeff Ted Trimpa, 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Ted Trimpa show as we wrap here. I can't believe this. This has just flown by. This was a lot of fun. Mr. Trimpa, thank you.
I loved it. This has been a lot of fun. It's hard to believe that 4 hours have gone by.
All right. Well, good debate. We clearly disagree, but I think we did so in a way that was respectful, which I appreciate.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Speaking of good guys coming by, Rich Sokol is on with us. Rich, big day in Israel.
Guys, it's a wonderful, wonderful morning. It's the sun is shining throughout the world, even though it may not be shining in Denver right now. But it's a day we've prayed for many, 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 many times, and honestly, it's still hard to believe it's here.
I was reading the Washington Post piece on the former hostage who spent 491 days in hostage by Hamas. Look, these are not even prison conditions. These are horrific torture conditions where you are humiliated, stripped. He describes living among worms in these holes in Gaza. So what are you hearing from Israelis in Israel right now with regards to the condition of these hostages, the response of families, what they've been going through? Give us some insight, Rich Stokel.
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, Jeff, the conditions they lived under were beyond horrific, beyond barbaric, could be even beyond concentration camp level. So I've had the unfortunate honor of spending time with two of the hostages and hearing their stories. And one that really got to me, we all know they were held literally in dungeons below the surface of the earth, in the tunnels of Hamas. And for the most part, they were held alone, for 2 years. Tonight, actually, on the Jewish calendar, will mark the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th attack. So for 2 years, most of these people have been absolutely alone, chained to a wall, living in a cage, and their food roughly was one stale pita per day. So that's the equivalent of one piece of bread per day was all they had to eat. The one story that I'll always remember was one of the hostages saying that once a month they were allowed to shower, and a shower was just a little bottle of water with a slit in it that they were allowed to pour over their body. Of course, there was no towel, no anything. And after he was done with his shower, he raced to put the chains back on by himself. He wanted to put his chains back on because that way they could be a tiny bit looser, that if he let his Hamas captor put the chain on, it would be really tight and chafe his skin. So he would rush to put his chains back on after his shower, which was once a month. So their conditions were horrific. The Hamas people are barbarians. All the Palestinian protesters saying Hamas is a legitimate resistance movement, they're cheering for pure evil.
Well, and Rich, on that point, we've got closeout music happening now. Thank you for the call. Sure. Out of all the stuff we disagreed on and debated on, Ted Trimpa and I agreed that today is a great day for peace in Israel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for all you do, Rich.
Ted, thank you. Follow Ted on x.com/Ted Trimpa. You've been listening to Jeff Hunt, Ted Trimpa, 710 KNUS.